Hi, I'm John Rogers. I created the show Leverage and wrote Transformers, and you're listening to GenreTainment.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of GenreTainment here on SciFiPulseRadio.com. We're your hosts, Marx
and Julie, and GenreTainment is where we talk about what's happening in the world of film, TV, and web series. We give you interviews with writers, directors, producers, and actors in both independent and not-so-independent creations. Now for today's show, we're chatting with actor Doug Jones. He's probably best known for his creature and alien roles, such as Abe Sapien in Hellboy, Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four 2, Pan and Pan's Labryrinth, the alien Cochise in the series Falling Skies, or perhaps another one of our favorites. Yeah. One of the gentlemen from the classic Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Hush.
Ooh.
Yay! So we're going to stop there before we turn blue, listing all of his accomplishments. But he's also done a lot of fantastic roles where you actually get to see his face. Amazing.
Amazing.
We'll talk more about that soon.
Now in the interview, we talk about working with Del Toro.
And he does a great Del Toro impression.
He does. Playing Silver Surfer, his first major acting gig.
Which is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. His starring role in the indie film My Name is Jerry. Mm-hmm. His love of dolphins.
As I call them, the bunnies of the sea.
And much, much more. Thanks again to our audience members who sent us questions. We picked our two favorites. Please keep checking our Facebook page for future chances to ask a question to an upcoming guest.
Yeah, now before we get started with our interview, we do want to point out that the music you just heard at the beginning of the show was a snippet from the theme song for our web series, Reality on Demand. It's a song composed and performed by our friend Tishan Hardy, and you can find our web series at realityondemandseries.com.
Now let's start our very fun interview with actor Doug Jones.
You're originally from our home state of Indiana. So as filmmakers who work behind or in front of the camera, it's exciting for us to speak to someone who's so successful and who's from our neck of the woods. So how did you get started? And we hear it had something to do with the man from the moon.
Well, there's a multi-tiered question. It's going to take me an hour to answer. But first of all, I love talking to my Indiana folks, too. I love Hoosiers Unite. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana. And when you ask how I got started, it starts back there. When I went to Bishop Chatard High School in Indianapolis, I was very involved with the drama department. Anytime there was a skit for a PEP's assembly or the variety show, I was always on that stage. And then that transpired into my college career at Ball State University when I was a radio and TV major and a theater minor. And I joined there was a mime troupe on campus at Ball State called Mime Over Matter. Right? Get it?
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah. And so I joined that mime troupe, and that's what really kind of like gave my body a workout in communication. I learned a lot about communication, that it's not just verbal. In fact, only 50% of it is. The rest is what we give off visually with facial expression, gestures, body language, posture, the whole thing. So my mime days were very, very crucial and key in training me to, when I got to California in 1985 and got my first TV commercial agent, I was able to, list my special skills on my resume, which included mime and contortionist. Yes, I know. Now the contortionist part, I've never ran away with the circus, never had an act that I could, I'm not like those old Chinese girls who can bend around and eat soup with their foot or whatever. But I can put my legs behind my head, like forward. That's I'm a one-trick pony, but that one trick will for some odd reason amazes and wows people. So that got me into a lot of TV commercial auditions in my early days. One of my first bookings, my very first commercial booking that I did, it was my first paid gig and my first and my eligibility into the Screen Actors Guild was a Southwest Airlines commercial as a dancing mummy. And then shortly, I know. And then shortly after that, I booked a couple more spots, and then it was the Mac Tonight campaign for McDonald's. Now that's where the Moon Man comes in. I wore a big crescent moon with a face on it on my head, and then had a sparkly like nightclub singer suit from the neck down, and it was a cool cat who sang floating on a cloud, playing a piano, and singing about McDonald's, and it was just
remember that.
Yeah.
right. You want to sing it with me? When the clock strikes, hey, babe. Time to head for Golden Lights. It's a good time for the great taste dinner at McDonald's. It's Mac tonight. Come on, make it Mac tonight. Wow, wow, wow.
Woo!
There you go. Who does that on your show?
So far, just you.
Just me, really, right. Well, so that campaign was kind of what marked me as tall, skinny, goofy guy who moves well and doesn't complain in layers of prosthetic rubber makeup bits, right? So that's the reputation that started for me with that commercial campaign mostly, because I'd ended up doing 27 commercials as that character for McDonald's over the next 3-year period. So that took me into the early 90s, and by then, my reputation had gone around the creature effects makeup houses here in LA as that tall, skinny guy that with a long, skinny neck. And so when people were designing aliens or some kind of like long spidery monster or an insect hybrid or something, they would, oh, hey, who do we know that can play that? There's that Doug Jones guy. So that's how it started, and it snowballed over the years until I have the career that I have today, wacky and crazy as it is.
Well, I know we remember you from the Hush episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You gave me nightmares, I do have to say.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment. I loved working on that Hush episode. Buffy's a great show anyway, and it was so brilliant and ahead of its time. And Joss Whedon is just such a brilliant man. I've had the privilege of working with a lot of geniuses over my career, and Joss Whedon being one of them. And he was what we call a showrunner. He was like the head writer, head producer, head everything of that show. And but they usually would, on TV series, they switch out directors because not one director can do every episode because they're back to back and you have to prep and all that. So, but for him to have written that episode and also directed that episode, by season 4, that was kind of special that he came down out of his office to do all that. So we knew this episode was special anyway going in, and getting to play the lead gentleman of that Hush episode was it was groundbreaking for television because they took a chance. And the network at the time, I believe it was it the WB back before it became the CW or whatever it is. They were a little bit leery of a 1-hour TV show with over half of it being done in complete silence. Thinking that like, oh, geez, we're going to lose our audience if we're not stimulating all of their orifices at every moment, right? But they learned a little something with that episode, that when you take away verbal dialogue and make it as intriguing and such still good storytelling as it was, people, instead of not paying attention, they ended up leaning in and paying closer attention, as you guys can probably attest, being fans, right?
Yeah, and you already knew that from your mime training.
Well, come on, baby. Come on. I knew it. So it worked out really well, and it just became one of those moments on television that lives strong to this day. And, I filmed that back in 1999, so it's been 14 years. And I still, when I do the convention circuit, the Buffy fans still come up to me as though it was on yesterday. And it probably was on yesterday somewhere. You know what I mean? Keep rerunning it, yeah.
Even though you've been very successful, you still haven't forgotten your roots, because we hear you visit Indiana often, and you work quite a bit.
You're still a Hoosier boy.
Yeah.
I totally. Well, my last like actual appearance there was for the Wet Your Pants Comedy Film Festival.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Brian Pierce puts that on with his whole family in memory of his brother, and I had 2 things playing there. I believe I had a short film, Sudden Death, play there, and that was what it was, and something I don't know. Oh, and my feature film, My Name is Jerry. That's right.
That's what we were going to ask you about. Yeah.
I also filmed in Indiana. Thank you very much. Yeah.
In Muncie.
In Muncie, right? Oh gosh, I have so many good Indiana stories! Yay! But the Wet Your Pants Comedy Film Festival was really good to me. I had such a great time with that. I want to come back as many years as I can on that one now. But my name is Jerry. Can we talk about that?
Yes, that was actually our next question.
Oh, good. Well, the writer-director, Morgan Mead, also from Indiana. He grew up in Plymouth, Indiana, and he went to Ball State for a couple years before he transferred out of there and went to film school out here on the West Coast at the New York Film Academy's West Office. He was 20 years behind me in school. I graduated Ball State in 1982. It was around 2004, I guess, that Morgan was finishing up his film degree at New York Film Academy out here. He got a hold of me, knowing that I was also a Hoosier, and worked that angle. He got a hold of my manager and sent an email with a script saying, could Doug be in my thesis short film project? And it took a couple tries before my manager actually forwarded it along to me. But when I read this little script, it was like just kooky enough, and I thought, whoever wrote this, I have to meet him. So we had a little coffee date at a Starbucks, and that lasted for 3 hours. I could not get enough of this kid. He was so hilarious and quirky, but yet got the joke. I mean, he had a little bit of crazy behind his eyes, but it all made sense. So that's my favorite kind of filmmaker, by the way, is someone who is not quite right in the head.
You almost have to be.
Right, exactly. So, and Morgan had all that. So we did that short film project, but I told him at the end of our coffee date that anything he makes from this day forward, I want to be in. So after he finished film school, he went back home to Indiana, and then he logged that comment of mine into his brain, and he wrote a feature film script called My Name is Jerry with his friend Annie Janik. So they sent me this email saying, would you want to be in this? I read the whole script and was like, yeah, wow, yes. He wrote it knowing me now. We'd known each other for a year at that point, and he wrote it with me in mind and with my quirks I absolutely loved it. Middle-aged coming of middle-age story is what it was, and and Jerry, the character Jerry, was finding himself in his 40s, wondering what the next half of life held for him, and looking at his past mistakes and lamenting them for a minute, but that's a midlife crisis that I have been through, and so I understood Jerry better than I should have. And I really, really connected with the character so much, and I believe that a midlife crisis is crucial and necessary for the it's a man thing. It's a phenomenon that most men go through. I'm not sure what happens to women in their middle life, but I know that men especially go through this crisis where they about defining themselves or redefining themselves and looking back and looking forward. It's a thing we do.
I think we go through it younger.
Yeah, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, so what was good is that we had two generations in this story. Jerry in his 40s with all of his friends and his coworkers and his boss. Great cast by them. My boss lady was played by Catherine Hicks, who was in the mom in Seventh Heaven for like 12 years. Mm-hmm. My best friend was played by Don Stark, who was the dad, Donna's dad at 70s.
On that 70s show, yeah.
Right. And we also had and then there's the younger generation in the story. My daughter, who Jerry had been estranged from for like 10 years, hadn't seen her in 10 years after a divorce. She finally reappears, and that awkward reconnection wants to happen. And our movie just was a nice real way of saying that it can happen. It will be awkward. It may not be easy, but it should happen. Reconnection, and we're living in a day and age where a lot of families are broken up like that, and I'm glad that we could make a movie that helps inspire those families to get back together. So my daughter was played by Allison Scaliotti from Warehouse 13 on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Oh, cool.
And that was one of her first features, I think. She'd been on Josh and Drake, or Drake and Josh on the Nickelodeon before that. But Jerry, my character, goes through this transformation where he's kind of awakened to the world of punk music, and it kind of gives him like just kind of like this redefinition time where he's like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to be cool and hip and hang out with the kids, and I'm going to, it was very midlife crisis-ish. And it all happened because he went to the wrong party by mistake, and he met a whole bunch of like 20-something kids, And one of them, the lead love interest, I guess, I say love interest with a question mark because you'll find out as the story progresses that she might represent more than that to him, and he really finds out what he was after in the first place, which was a reconnection with his own daughter. So this girl Jordan, played by Caitlin Carlson, she was a newcomer. It was her first feature ever. She came from Chicago. Great actress. I had such a great time working with her. So she is the one that kind of connects me to this group of punk rock kids. And one of her friends in the movie was Stephen Yun, the young Asian kid on The Walking Dead.
Oh, okay.
So and that was his first feature as well, also coming from Chicago. So it was just what a great experience that was to film in my home state of Indiana. I went to Ball State, so we filmed in and around Muncie, Indiana. We're using office sets and office locations that were on the campus that I went to school at 30 years ago, and it was just great. It was just so great, and a couple of our scenes were out in the country, with cornfields and barns and
cornfields and cows.
Oh gosh, I love it. Call me crazy, I love that smell. I do.
It's fresh air. It's good for you.
It is. Dang it. So that movie was for a small indie film, it had a certain modicum of success. We ended up Netflix picked it up for quite a while. I don't know if it's still on Netflix. It was streaming for a few years. It's now, you can still see it on Hulu. If you go to Hulu and type My Name is Jerry in your search bar, you should be able to come up with it. You'll have commercial breaks, but you can live through that. And it's also still on DVD if you go to Amazon.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so all of our listeners, check that one out.
Yes. My name is Jerry.
Honestly,
my name is Jerry.
Yes. When people ask me what's my favorite role I've ever played, I have two answers. My favorite costumed character that I've ever played out of all my creatures. I love them all, mind you. I take them all in as though they're my own kids, into my heart.
Mm-hmm.
But Abe Sapien from the Hellboy movies would probably be the closest and nearest to my heart of my costume characters. Of my human characters, it would absolutely be Jerry. Jerry's my favorite human I've ever played.
I love that you can say, it's such a cool job. It's my favorite human I've ever played.
Because I do need to make that distinction,
Yes, you do.
Now, before we forget, we do have a couple of questions from the audience.
From our audience.
We asked them.
Sweet.
We didn't give them a whole lot of time, but we picked
we didn't want too many.
Two favorites that we got. So, First up, from Brandon Bennett, with as many costume characters that you played, and you kind of sort of already answered this, I think, you played, which has been the most comfortable to play when in costume makeup?
Ooh, the most comfortable. Now, that's an interesting question because of course we can all assume that they're all hell to wear, right?
Right.
Not always though. I mean, I think probably once this costume and makeup was glued on to me, it was the easiest or the most comfortable, manipulatable, movable, flexible would be the Silver Surfer.
That's what I was going to say.
I was and it was a full rubber muscle suit costume that looked like the Silver Surfer, but I was not.
Right.
A lot of people think that it was I was wearing a leotard with dots on it so they could CG later, but I was in a full makeup that looked like the Surfer, and then they did a CG enhancement over that later. You'll notice in the movie when I lost my power and became tarnished and dulled down a little bit. Mm-hmm. That was just me in the latex foam rubber makeup and costume.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, without the CG effects. They CG'd over my eyes to take the blue away so it would match the Surfer, but...
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
That is cool.
Yeah. So that was, it only took 2 hours to get it on, and once it was on, it was just basically just a coat of rubber all over me that had no mechanics were built into it, and it was just all done in two pieces. So it was very simple and very... it was like wearing a Bowflex. When you're wearing a rubber costume like that, it wants to spring back to its original position it was made in. So if it was made in a standing position with my arms down, that's the position it wants to return to. So when I'm sitting with my legs bent and my arms bent, there will be creases that'll cut circulation off and so. But if I'm in my trailer taking a break and lying down, it's brilliant.
Okay, now for our second audience question, which has two parts. It's from Mary Abdullah. And her question is, would love to know what it's like to work with Guillermo del Toro, and would be nice to know where his love from dolphins came from as well. LOL.
Oh, okay. That would be my love for dolphins. And,
yes.
That's right.
Sorry, that wasn't real clear.
Del Toro loves dolphins.
Please tell us about someone else's.
Oh, that Guillermo and his dolphins. I'll do this in order. Guillermo del Toro I mentioned all those geniuses I've gotten to work with before. He is absolutely in that small handful of people that I would call brilliant geniuses. Guillermo is he's a true visionary, a true storyteller. He's another one of those guys who gets the joke, even when it's not funny. He gets it, He loves the world of monsters and creepy, crawly things. But he's never exploitative when he makes his films. He is a storyteller, and he always, even if his films have horrific imagery in them and huge monsters and like dripping fangs, there's a storyline to it and a development of that character that gives you a certain sympathy for it, and he makes leading men out of his monsters. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what he did with me. I met him on Mimic, and I was one of those long john bug guys that was infesting the New York subway system. Long story, but then again we met again for Hellboy 1 and 2, and then also Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth was the life-changing movie for me.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, we've been on quite a ride together, he and I, and we have plans to work together again. We have Frankenstein in development right now at Universal Pictures, with me playing his monster. I'm attached for it anyway. Now, depending on when he gets around to making it, hopefully I'll still be young enough to play the character. When we also have, he's got his Strain TV series based on the books, The Strain, for the FX channel that he's putting up for this coming fall. And oh gosh, what else? He's so busy. And then the next movie he has in the works is Crimson Peak. And we've already talked about me playing something in that. If I'm done with Falling Skies in time, I'm about to go back up to Canada to do season 4 of Falling Skies.
Yay!
As the Cochise character, my alien guy. So schedules permitting, Guillermo and I will be working on a few things together soon. It's one of those relationships that every actor hopes to have with the director of his stature. But more than that, I cherish his friendship, and we don't hang out every day, but when we work together, it's the kind of a relationship that just clicks. We have a shorthand where we don't have to say much. For instance, I'll give you one of my favorite direction stories ever. When we were making Hellboy 2: The Golden Army, I played 3 characters in that movie, by the way. Not only was I Abe Sapien, the blue fish guy, but I was also the black-winged angel of death.
That's cool.
Which I loved that character. And I did a 3rd character just because he had no idea who else when he proposed to me I would be playing 3 characters, he said, "Yeah, of course you're playing Abe, and I wrote a 2nd character just for you," which was the Angel of Death. And then he said, "And the 3rd one, I just don't know who else I'm going to get." So, okay, fine. So it was the Chamberlain. The Chamberlain was the pale-faced, box-headed, weird-looking guy with long, spindly fingers and a black robe that welcomed the Prince Nuada home to the underworld to meet his father, the King of the Elves. And I was the chamber man who he had to go through me to get to the king's chambers. So I was like, "Welcome home, sire. You must just surrender your weapons before entering the council chambers." And so that character, that character was such an afterthought. It was just one scene, and I didn't really care. It's like, I guess I'll do it, whatever. And Guillermo told me when he was trying to inspire me, we often have talks before we film something, where he'll just give me his notes, his thoughts on whatever character quirks I should have and all that. All he said about the Chamberlain was, "Dog, when you play the Chamberlain, I kind of just want to see sort of a ew." And he did that noise while putting his fingers together in a very proper, prim sort of way. So I said, "Oh, okay, got it, thanks." And that's the last we ever talked about it.
I love that. So that's men, because you're like, we're good friends. Women are like, "Oh, we're good friends. We can talk for." Men are like, "We're good friends. We don't have to talk."
Ever. I know it's true. It doesn't have funny. I know. Yeah, the less said, the more we understand. I don't know.
That's a good story with him.
Oh, thank you. I just say he's always good for so many quotes. He's such a such a true genius. And my love for dolphins. Yes, once you mentioned one time that yes, I love dolphins, then I have dolphin art given to me by fans all the time. So actually, it's a collection I love. I have statues, sculptures, necklaces, bracelets, all kinds of things with dolphins on them that people have given me. I don't know. I've loved dolphins ever since I was a kid, and because they're a sea creature that is just so happy. And when you hear how if a human being is in distress in the ocean and a dolphin hears about it, they'll actually sort of nudge you to the beach and save your life.
Uh-huh.
I heard those stories when I was a kid, thinking like, oh, the dolphins are our friends. And one early TV show that I watched was Flipper. Flipper was I would never miss Flipper. This happy dolphin squeaking and communicating with people. Of course, he was written well, so he could communicate. And then dolphins always have a smile on their face. It's kind of built into them organically. The way their mouth is shaped, it looks like they're just always smiling. So I like happy creatures. And in 1982, the summer of '82, after I graduated Ball State, my first job out of college was I was a mime at Kings Island in Cincinnati, Ohio, the theme park there. And the stage that I walked around the park, but I had my green room area that I would take my breaks in, was under one of the stages right next door to the dolphin show. So I would spend as much time as I could watching the dolphin show. I mean, I saw all the gags every day for an entire summer, so I knew the show backwards and forwards. My very last day at the park, when they couldn't fire me, I went up and did a little pre-show. My last segment, my last walk around the park of my entire career there at Kings Island, I went to the dolphin show, and I went up on the stage before the show started and did a little pre-show thing where I acted like I was fishing in the water and something, whatever mimes do. And then I ended up acting like I was fishing with a pole that wasn't there. And all of a sudden I caught something. It was tugging back and forth, and then yank, and it dragged me into the water. So I took a splash into the water on purpose just so I could swim with the dolphins for just 1 minute.
That was brilliant.
Yeah. Then I climbed out and drippedly wet went back to my green room, and nobody ever said a word about it. So that was great. It was great.
It is. Yeah, and they've even found that dolphins have own unique names that they call each other now.
Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that part?
Yeah, I thought you might like that if you hadn't heard it.
Aww. I wonder if any of them are called Dougie.
They might be.
I hope so. I want to meet Dougie the dolphin.
Dougie the dolphin. I love it. New movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I know, right?
Now, before we go, we do want to chat about some of your most recent work. As you mentioned, you're working on Falling Skies.
Yeah, we do love your character, Cochise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love doing it. It's coming into the cast in season 3 was, you never know how welcomed you're going to be. And Noah Wyle, Will Patton, Moon Bloodgood, Drew Roy, Connor Jessup, Maxim Knight, the entire gang. Oh, Colin Cunningham, who plays Pope on the show. Love him. I love them all so much. They were so incredibly gracious and kind of happy to have an alien on the show that was actually not CG, that they can actually interact with on camera.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And I was the first alien who spoke English, and I'm an ally. I'm here to help, and so it was kind of a boost for everybody from what they told me to have this character join the show. So it was what a lovely experience. I'll tell you what though, series television is way different from making a feature film in that you're doing an hour of production every 8 days, and the amount of dialogue. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of talking heads in TV, mm-hmm. And my character Cochise is really smart. So that means I have to spout out a lot of smart guy dialogue constantly, and a lot of exposition. I explain what's happening and what the history of this or that is, and what the relationship between he and ha is, and oh my gosh. So I spout off paragraphs at a time, and in TV it's a writer's medium, so the writers are constantly rewriting right up to the day you're filming. So you'll memorize this huge speech, and then by the next day, it's completely different. You're like, frick it, I can't. So,
I give up.
They gave my brain such a workout on this show. They really did. But
that's when you go, 50% of language is without speaking. So
Without
I think we
visual.
should cut this 50%.
We should cut the dialogue.
Cochise could mime this one just fine.
Cochise the mime.
That would be awesome. And if you saw the season finale for season 3, the mothership of the Volm, my people, landed, and on that ship it was being commanded by my father, Waschakcha Ab. So we met when you the audience meet Waschakcha Ab. It's also me in a different makeup, and so we did the Patty Duke thing where I did a split screen thing where I did both characters.
I didn't know that was you. I didn't know that. That's cool.
That's impressive.
That
Now,
was.
Well, thank you. They ended up getting another voice actor to give him a different sound than me, an older man. It actually worked out really, really flawlessly. It came together seamlessly, I thought. But I was. But that was the most stress I've ever had on a shoot anywhere, because I had to learn reams of dialogue for 2 characters that were interacting with each other at the same time. So
In full prosthetics.
Makeup. I was just in utter hell that week. But having watched the show back, it's like, okay. When you see the final product, you're like, I guess it was worth it. It's like Guillermo del Toro said to me once. I told you he's good for a lot of quotes. One time on the set of Hellboy 2, in one of our 6-day work weeks over that 6-month period, 18 hours a day, I'm falling asleep in my set chair between shots, and just as I often did, and I heard his footsteps coming up. He never picks up his feet, so I always know it's him, right? He puts his hand on my forearm and he says, "I know we are killing you, my friend." And I said, "Oh no, well, yes, you are killing me, but there's love, Guillermo." And he said, "Well, here's the good news. The good news is there will be pilgrimages to your grave." So I think I think he kind of summed it up right there. It's like, no matter what kind of hell you go through for TV or film production, it comes to an end at some point. And so you can always see the light at the end of that tunnel. And once you are done with it, you've made a piece of immortal film that will last forever and ever, and entertain generations to come. So hopefully it's all worth it in the end.
He is good for quotes. You're right.
He is.
Now, how long does it take to get into the makeup for Cochise, and then also Cochise's dad? And how much is enhanced by visual effects?
Good question. This is a mercifully short one. The costuming is multiple layers and pieces and snaps and buckles, but the makeup is only 2 pieces. It's a cowl that goes over my head with my face exposed, so it covers my head and neck except for the face. Then a face piece goes on that blends the edges around the sides. So it's very simple. The foam latex rubber on the face is just thick enough around my lips that my lips don't articulate as much as they should when I'm speaking. So all they do with CG enhancement in the end is they make my eyes move around and blink, because my eyes are these gold big eyeballs that are wider and higher than my own on my face.
Uh-huh.
And so they're kind of glued into the mask, just looking forward and straight and bug-eyed all day. So they go in with CG and make them move around and give them some life afterwards. And my upper lip, just on occasion, when it needs an enhancement to articulate a word better than my face would allow it to do, they'll enhance that a smidge too. So
Wow.
it's minimal, but it's very effective. It's a nice marriage of the two, of practical effects and visual effects put together.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
That is. That's impressive.
Now, what's the secret to being an actor who is able? You act as a human, but you're really well known for being these creatures and being under all these prosthetics. Is there a secret to being able to do that well, or is it just not being claustrophobic in that stuff?
I think that the secret is saying yes when they ask you. Really. Other than that, I don't know. I don't know what I do that's so special. I also need to mention all talking about all the creature effects and the makeups for Falling Skies. The people who put that together is Todd Masters' shop, Masters Effects. They do the practical effects on me and also the visual effects in post production. So Masters Effects is really a brilliant company. But anyway, so I think the formula that makes an actor more effective in heavy makeups is to come from some kind of a background that does involve movement, whether you're a gymnast or a dancer or a mime or just someone who gets it, that you need to talk with your hands,
Yeah.
That just comes in handy. Also, thinking like an athlete as well as an actor, because you do have to sometimes endure a costume or a suit that's heavier than it should be or heavier than you want it to be, just to get through your day. There's been many a time where I've been breathing heavily between takes going, oh God, get me through this day, not knowing if I'm going to make it or not. So, you still have to have the heart and soul of an actor and find your character and what are his wants, his needs, and do all that actor schmacker stuff you're supposed to do. But then to add the physical endurance part on top of that is
mental stamina. It sounds like
that's right. Those are the extra measures you have to do when you're in a heavy makeup. But I'll also, we're talking about upcoming things too. I also was a recurring guest on The Neighbors on ABC last year.
Yeah.
I believe they're doing reruns on them right now on Friday nights. So their new time slot for the fall is going to be Friday nights instead of Wednesdays now. So I think that this coming Friday, I'm going to be in the Neighbors episode from last season that is airing this Friday. So be on the lookout for that. And we did a musical episode too last year that was just the pinnacle of my career. I be on a sitcom with this goofy humor and then adding music by Alan Menken to it. Where I got to sing and dance and be a complete tomfoolery idiot. I had the best time of my life. So, hopefully, if Falling Skies can work a window here, and I'd love to come back and do a couple episodes of The Neighbors again this year if I can work it out time wise. And in the meantime, I also just did. I can't tell you anything about it, but I can tell you that I did it, and that is I guest starred did a special cameo on Sons of Anarchy with my Hellboy friend Ron Perlman.
Oh, cool.
The scene together, I dare not tell you anything about, but that's coming up this coming season on Sons of Anarchy, and it's been out there. Somebody from the show put the news blurb out there, so it's gone a bit viral on the internet. Everybody from MTV News to TV Line and Yahoo TV News have been repeating this story, which is that I am guest starring on an episode of Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
I start filming this coming Tuesday. I'll tell you what they put out in the press, and that is that I am a known killer. I'm a psycho killer that is coming to town to wreak some havoc, and that's all I can tell you. So don't.
That's all.
I won't be one of the young, pretty, hot, werewolfy people on the show. I'm going to be one of the old, crazy killer people.
That's more fun.
Yeah. And also, in the meantime, too, I do a lot of web series and short films and all kinds of things. So, I could talk about the projects that I've done that haven't come out yet. I could talk about them all day. But I also have a web series that I'm incredibly proud of, a web series called Research with Barry Bostwick. Barry Bostwick, of course, from Spin City. He was the mayor on the show, and also the Rocky Horror Picture Show. He was Brad, the young love interest.
Mm-hmm.
And Research is a wacky, zany web series based in a research facility that tests like flavors and textures and even some drugs or whatever on guinea pig patients. And I would be one of those guinea pigs. And Barry Bostwick played one of the scientists that runs the lab. So, and he's nuts. He's out of his mind. And in real life too, which is, again, I told you I love crazy people. And Barry and I got along so well. So anyway, if you go to researchseries.com, that'll have all of the YouTube window players there that you can click on and see the entire series. There's 8 episodes with 7 mini episodes in between them. So that's a great fun thing to look forward to.
Yeah, and your character's introduced, I think, with the line, "If we drink the poison, do we get more money?"
Do we get more money? Exactly. Oh, look at you've seen it. Thank you.
I just like that just sums him up right there. Ooh, can I drink the poison? No, get more money. He's like trying to like lick what he thinks is the poison.
He's made a career out of this being a test subject, so I love it.
It seems to have taken a toll.
I told you, I do love crazy people.
Those are the best kind.
Oh.
Oh, great. And where can people find you on the web?
Yes.
Okay, here.
Shameless plug time for Doug
goody.
Jones.
In a number of places. My official website is thedougjonesexperience.com. That's a long one. That's thedougjonesexperience.com. And on there, you will find buttons for Twitter, Facebook, and I don't know if there's a LinkedIn tab there or not, but I'm on all those portals as well. Twitter, you can find me at Actor Doug Jones. On Facebook, I can't add friends. I can't be an interactive friend of yours if you're trying, because I have too many. Did you know that Facebook, your personal profile, they cut you off at 5,000 friends?
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't know that. I thought it was like, oh, come one, come all, and then I'm cut off. So it's like, wow. So I also have a fan page there. So if you do a Doug Jones search, you might find the like page, which you're welcome to like and add anything you want on that wall. I interact on both walls the exact same. I put the same posts on both, my personal and my professional page. And if you go to my personal page, you find that one first, then hit the follow button there, and that'll give you access to comment and like things on that wall as well. So feel free. And if you're having trouble finding the right Doug Jones, there's a lot of us. You can do a search for Actor Doug Jones, all run together, just like my Twitter handle.
But Jones is such an unusual name.
I know, right? Not in Wales, it's not. But but if you do a search for Actor Doug Jones, you'll find my personal page, and you can hit the follow button there.
Well, thank you. You have a really great evening. Thank you for talking to us.
Yes, thank you very much.
You precious puppies, don't ever change, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You take care.
Big love. Bye-bye.
Hey there, this is Robert Leashock, best known for playing Liam Kincaid on Gene Roddenberry's Earth Final Conflict, and you're listening to GenreTainment.
Well, special thanks to Doug for chatting with us, and we look forward to seeing him again on Falling Skies, his upcoming role in the future Del Toro films. And you had to say Del Toro like that.
Del Toro.
Yeah, especially after hearing him talk like him. And also encourage everyone to check out the web series Research, which is really funny. He's truly hilarious in it.
Mm-hmm. So that's it for today's GenreTainment. We'll be back soon with all new guests from our favorite films, TV shows, novels, and web series. Now, coming up in future episodes, we have the stars of the feature film Gamers, Hands of Fate. We will also have in a few weeks director John Badham joining us to discuss his new book, John Badham on Directing. He directed classic films like Short Circuit, War Games, Saturday Night Fever, and many more.
Those are really good films.
Also a lot of TV shows, too.
Yeah.
Now, click on over to our website at GenreTainment.com or our Facebook page to send us a question for either of these guests, and we'll pick our favorites.
Yeah, or just random ones. It doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter.
No.
Whatever. We'll eventually get to everybody, right?
So keep trying.
We also have the game designers that brought us Mutants and Masterminds and DC Adventures coming to the show soon, and web series creator Blake Calhoun, who brought us award-winning web series like Continuum, Pink, Exposed, and soon Morganville the series. And that's just a few of the many fun guests we have coming up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that series too. Mm-hmm. And don't forget that you can check out the other great shows on Sci-Fi Pulse Radio channel like SFP Now, The Roundtable, and more. Until next time.